All right, guys, a lot has transpired over the past 24 hours and is continuing to escalate in Europe between Russia and Ukraine. We got reports of an undersea telecommunications cable that connects Finland and Germany across the Baltic Sea has been severed. Also, Russia is now reporting that Ukraine has carried out its attack using U.S.-made long-range missiles that the Biden administration has given the approval of. Putin now is revising his nuclear doctrine, and as a result of this, he has now threatened the United Kingdom with nuclear war by Christmas if things continue to escalate. Also, reports indicate that Russia is beginning to continue to make nuclear-resistant mobile bomb shelters. And then NATO is carrying out large Arctic exercises right in Russia's backyard. We're going to cover all this in today's update. Let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, guys, we got a lot to cover today. It is Tuesday, November the 19th, and we want to welcome you to the program. This is End Time Headlines, news and headlines from a prophetic perspective. I am your host, Ricky Scaparro, the founder, the pastor, and the voice of End Time Headlines. And hey, guys, before we get started, can you do me a favor? Help us get this out. Help eyes get on it on YouTube and Rumble. And you can do that with a real easy thing to do. It only takes a second, and that's to hit that like button. And then you can take a step further. If you guys wish to continue to keep up with this here on YouTube and Rumble, you got to go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification. And then the best way to do it above all of that, guys, is to download our free app. It's available on Apple and Android devices. Again, you can pick it up today. Depending on your device, go to your Play Store, type in End Time Headlines, look for our official ETH trademark logo, download our app, hit yes to push notifications, and you're not going to miss a single thing that we put out. So again, guys, we wanted to give you an update. Things are really getting concerning in Europe with this ongoing conflict. We know now that Russia and Ukraine has been in a full war for 2 years now? And now there has been what we call a game changer, and that is following the green light of this current administration that's still in office, the Biden administration's approval of supplying Ukraine with long-range missiles to use on Russia. Now, the last time we reported this, there was a report that indicated that in a following couple days or maybe 24 hours that Ukraine would indeed carry out a strike using, again, U.S. made and supplied long-range missiles. Well, according to this report, Ukraine has held true to what they said they were going to do. Let me show you this report. Russia is reporting that Ukraine has indeed attacked Moscow using U.S.-made missiles, quote, signals it's ready for nuclear response.
Feels like a significant escalation. Does the U.S. and the U.S. actually, and President Biden gave the blessing to Vladimir Zelensky to use these very big missiles a couple of days ago. Does that come with the guarantee that if Russia escalates, the U.S. is there to protect them?
Well, I think that this is a slew of questions that we do not yet have the answers to, Francine. And just to recap some of the news that we just got in the last few minutes, because this all feels fairly significant, is what we got from Vladimir Putin was signing into a decree allowing Russia to fire nuclear weapons in response to any kind of massive conventional attack on its soil. That would include drones, that would include presumably long-range missiles, that Russia would view aggression against itself or its allies by non-nuclear state backed by other nuclear powers as a joint attack. in summary, basically saying that if there was an attack on Russia by a member of a coalition that will be seen as an attack by sort of the full coalition, i.e., even if it's a non-nuclear power aided by a nuclear power, that would be seen as a joint attack. This is something that Putin has been talking about signing into as a decree since September. This is officially happening now, and it comes, obviously, Francine, just on the heels of that sort of news that we got from Joe Biden, basically permitting the Ukrainians to begin using some of these ATACMS within Russian territory in the Kursk region, not sort of all across Russia, but within that region. They have a range of about 300 kilometers, and this is coming at a time right now when we understand, again, from Ukrainian news agencies that those first missiles have been deployed. So what we are getting this morning in the last few minutes is Putin, on the one hand, signing a decree that says that any sort of coalition strike that is backed by a nuclear power, even if it's by Ukraine, non-nuclear, striking within Russia, could see a nuclear response. Again, that is why there is seen a huge move into the haven assets over the last few minutes. You can see it on the sort of German bonds have been being bought up. You see the euro moving, you see gold moving, you see everything moving, because there's a lot of uncertainty as to what this means. Again, when we think about the possible red lines in Ukraine and when they are drawn, this sort of goes back to what we've been hearing from Olaf Scholz, who has been much more reticent, for one, to support any of these strikes within Russia, presumably to try to avoid a situation that could escalate severely.
And we just had confirmation that Ukraine has actually now fired these American-made ATACMS ballistic missiles into Russia. President Biden, of course, lifting restrictions on where the weapons can be used. But as you say, this morning, Vladimir Putin appearing to threaten to use nuclear weapons if these were used. But Ukraine seeming to call his bluff, firing 6 missiles into an ammunition storage warehouse in the Bryansk region of Russia. Russia claiming that it intercepted 5 of these missiles. You know, Putin's made nuclear threats before that have proved to be hollow, but I think the situation remains highly volatile. President-elect Trump, of course, promising to end the war when he takes office, but I think these developments are going to make that all the harder. Meanwhile, Ukraine marking a grim milestone today, 1,000 days of Russia's devastating war, with daily attacks across the country just going on and on.
All right, Moscow signaled to the West that it is, quote, ready for a nuclear confrontation. Wow, guys, I mean, heavy statement here. This follows Ukraine after Ukraine was given permission to attack Russian territory and appeared to quickly act on that green light using U.S.-made long-range missiles. Kyiv appeared to waste little time after reportedly being given the go-ahead by Washington this past weekend to use U.S.-made ATACMS missiles against specific targets. Again, Ukrainian news outlet reported early Tuesday that missiles had been used to attack Russian military facility in the Bryansk border region. Russia then confirmed the attack, with the Ministry of Defense stating that the Ukrainian forces had, quote, struck a facility in that very region using 6 ballistic American-made ATACMS missiles, or ATACMS missiles, however you pronounce it. The ministry claimed air defense missiles systems had shot down 5 of those missiles and damaged another. Quote, its fragments fell on the technical territory of a military facility in the Bryansk region, causing a fire that was quickly extinguished. There were no casualties or damage. CNBC was unable to independently verify the reports, and Ukraine's leadership has not yet commented on the attack. The Kyiv Post news outlet cited a national security official as confirming the strike had been carried out, although he did not indicate which weapons had been used. The Kremlin has reportedly warned the West against using or allowing Ukraine to use its long-range weapons to attack Russia directly. Moscow upped the ante yesterday as Russian Vladimir Putin signed a decree approving its updated nuclear doctrine, shifting the perimeters on when Russia can use nuclear weapons. Wow, guys. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. The updated document outlining the conditions in which Russia can use nuclear weapons now states that, quote, any aggression against Russia by a non-nuclear state, if it is supported by a nuclear power, will be considered as a joint attack. And guys, that's exactly what we just seen transpire. We just saw a non-nuclear state, Ukraine, be supported by a nuclear power, America. And this, again, according to Russia's new revisions to their updated document, their nuclear doctrine, this is now considered a, quote, joint attack. The doctrine went on to also state that Russia may, quote, use nuclear weapons in the event of a critical threat to its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Wow. And that of its ally, Belarus, and the launch of ballistic missiles against Russia would be seen among the conditions that could warrant a response using nuclear weapons. The Kremlin's press secretary was asked on Tuesday whether Russia would consider the use of American non-nuclear missiles by the Ukrainian military as an attack by a non-nuclear state with the support of a nuclear state. Now, here is the response. Quote, you will be able to read the paragraphs yourself. But in general, it also states that the Russian Federation reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in the event of aggression with the use of conventional weapons against it or the Republic of Belarus, which creates a critical threat to sovereignty or territory integrity. Quote, aggression against the Russian Federation by any non-nuclear state with the participation or support of a nuclear state is considered a joint attack. So guys, Russia is not backing down here. They're making it very clear, either verbally and contractually, that they pose this as a real threat. And so much so that they have revised their nuclear doctrine to entitle this, to put this in writing. The verbiage is there. So in other words, on their legal stance, they consciously can carry out a nuclear strike against a nuclear state, again, America, for supporting a non-nuclear state in a, quote, joint aggression. Now, I know as sure as we report this, and I read the comments, guys, we see it all the time. We get it across all social media platforms. People think, it's almost the boy who cried wolf. Putin has been saying this, yada, yada, yada. It's an echo chamber. Nobody cares. It falls on deaf ears. It goes over like a lead balloon. Nobody's flinching. But guys, there is strong evidence that things are indeed escalating. Let me give you some more reports here. Quote, Russia begins making nuclear-resistant mobile bomb shelters. Now think about the environment that we're in. Think about the climate of everything that's going on right now and how this has escalated. And now Russia has begun serial production of mobile bomb shelters that can protect against a variety of threats, including shock waves and radiation from a nuclear blast. The Emergencies Ministries Research Institute said the KUB-M shelter could offer protection for 48 hours against these and other natural and man-made hazards. Among those it listed were, quote, explosions and shrapnel from conventional weapons, falling debris from buildings, and dangerous chemicals and fires. The KUB-M looks like a reinforced shipping container and consists of 2 modules, a room for 54 people, and a technical block. More modules can be added if needed, according to the Institute. It did not link the move to any current crisis, sure, though the announcement came days after the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden agreed to allow Ukraine to fire these long-range missiles deep into Russia. A decision that the Kremlin said was, quote, reckless and would draw a response from Moscow. Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure it was just a coincidence and it was not directed at all to that. Vladimir Putin on Tuesday approved a new official doctrine, again, that lowered Russia's threshold for using nuclear weapons. Quote, the mobile shelter is a multifunctional structure that provides protection for people from various threats, including natural disasters and man-made accidents. The Research Institute said, quote, calling it an important step towards improving the safety of its citizens. Meanwhile, Sweden has reportedly told its citizens to prepare for nuclear war and stockpile food and water. And it's not just Sweden, guys. It's also Finland was also included in this. So you have Sweden and Finland that has all warned its citizens to prepare for nuclear war, guys, to prepare by stockpiling food, water, supplies, emergency supplies. So again, we here in America may not take this threat seriously, but I can guarantee you the neighbors immediately around the vicinity and the proximity of Russia are taking this very seriously. Meanwhile, NATO is holding large Arctic exercises right in Russia's backyard. Sounds of cannon fire and rocket artillery echo across the snowy hill Lapland landscape as some 3,600 soldiers from the U.S., Sweden, and UK, France, and other NATO members conduct live fire drills throughout the month of November. All of these are a part of NATO's largest artillery exercise ever held in Europe. This is being dubbed Dynamic Front 25, which also includes drills in Estonia, Germany, Romania, Poland, involving a total of 5,000 soldiers. A researcher at the Finnish Institute of International Affairs said the massive exercises should be interpreted as a message to Russia, with which Finland shares a 830-mile border. Quote, these NATO exercises are increasingly intended to show other countries, in this case, especially Russia, of course, that the alliance is united and is capable of, quote, defending its members. And now, according to this report, the move has angered Moscow, which has long opposed any expansion of NATO. So, again, everybody is in a joint effort of just continuing to poke the bear. Now, guys, I'd love to hear your comments in the chat, Rumble, YouTube, wherever you may be watching, and you're able to comment in the comment section. I'd love to hear your comments on this. How do you feel about these threats from Moscow? How do you feel about these threats from Putin? What do you feel about the revision of the nuclear doctrine and the verbiage that's in it? Should America be concerned about this? Or is this, once again, the boy who cried wolf? Meanwhile, guys, look at this headline. This is from The Express. This is a UK affiliate. Quote, Russia threatens United Kingdom with nuclear war by Christmas in a chilling World War III warning. Western allies, including Britain, France, and the U.S., have taken a, quote, big jump towards a nuclear conflict by giving Ukraine permission to fire these Western long-range missiles into Kremlin territory. Again, this is according to a pro-Putin spokesperson, a regular Putin mouthpiece. This individual warned that the shock move by U.S. President Biden could mean that Britons could be, quote, facing a Christmas in shelters. Again, another direct threat from Russia. The threat was given in an interview on the BBC Radio 4's The World at One, was also echoed by President-elect Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who suggested that those behind the move to approve Ukraine's use of the missiles wanted to, quote, make sure they got World War III going before my father has a chance to even create peace and save lives. President Biden's move, however, has been welcomed by Ukraine, by senior UK defense sources, and many European leaders. So, guys, again, we've said this before. The lines are being drawn, the Axis and allies. You have North Korean troops that are now flooding into Russia to aid them against Ukraine. You have South Korea that's bringing in troops as well. You have the NATO members that are flexing their muscles, that are the saber rattling that's going on, the exercises that are going on, the bold statements, the aggression. Meanwhile, Putin is fuming by all of these moves that are being made. He's revised his nuclear doctrine to make the verbiage and the legalities be there to conduct a nuclear strike against its enemies to protect its sovereignty. And then, if this was not bad enough, I want to show you this report. Now, according to Newsweek, an undersea telecommunications cable connecting Finland and Germany across the Baltic Sea has just been severed. Now, this is huge, guys. Look, I want to read this. Raising suspicions of intentional damage. Let me just reread this again because I got a little tongue-tied there. An undersea telecommunications cable connecting Finland and Germany across the Baltic Sea has been severed, raising suspicions of, quote, intentional damage. Now, again, this accusation was given by NATO. On Monday, Finnish company Cinia, which constructs the fiber optic networks and provides telecommunication services, said a fault has been detected in the, quote, Sea Lion 1 submarine cable. Due to the fault, the services provided over the Sea Lion 1 are down, it announced. This was the first time the cable has broken. Again, this is according to the CEO of CINIA, C-I-N-I-A. The cable did not break without an external impact. Again, a company spokesperson explained, adding that no seismic events such as earthquakes could have been responsible for this. Quote, the fact that such an incident immediately raises suspicions of intentional damage speaks volumes about the volatility of our times. Wow. Guys, let me know what you think about it. Who did it? Was this Russia? You remember, this is not the first time, guys, that this situation has transpired. What was it, 2 years ago this happened? And there was a lot of chatter and conspiracies that circulated around that America did this under the Biden administration, that they willfully severed this because listen, I can't even pull up the video because if I did, we'll probably get flagged on it. But there is a video, you can go find this, of Joe Biden, where in which he was threatening Putin and threatening Russia that they have ways to basically cripple Russia, and it just wasn't economic sanctions. And then literally a week later, these telecommunication lines were severed, and there was a lot of conspiracy around that of who did it and who carried it out. And now here we go again. And again, the timing is impeccable on this. The fact that, again, such an incident immediately raises suspicions of intentional damage speaks volumes about the volatility of our times. A thorough investigation is, quote, underway. Now, I'm sure you're probably not going to find anything about this. Again, let me know your thoughts on this, guys, in the chat, the comments. Is this a false flag to get us into war? Because think about this. Let's talk about this for a second. Could it be? Could it happen? Hypothetically speaking, could a false flag event transpire where in which they lay the blame on Russia? Of course. So this, again, would give the validation for a full war. Now, speaking of false flags, did you guys see this report? Quote, this is from Fox News, and this was reported on the 4th of November. Russia has been accused of plotting to plant explosives aboard U.S.-bound airplanes.
We're going to turn now to an alleged Russian plot to send explosive devices on planes to the U.S. Our transportation correspondent, Gio Benitez, has that story for us. Good morning, Gio.
Hey, Robin, good morning. Yeah, ABC News confirming this report overnight, and it is shocking. This absolutely could have brought down planes. 2 of those devices ignited at DHL facilities. This morning, a multinational investigation underway to track down the culprits of an alleged Russian plot to send explosive devices aboard U.S. and Canada-bound planes, first reported by the Wall Street Journal. UK authorities saying devices ignited back in July at 2 separate DHL cargo hubs, one in Leipzig, Germany, the other in Birmingham, England.
There's a real question here whether this was an intentional act by the Russian intelligence to bring down an airplane or to test ability to get an incendiary device onto airplanes, or did they just want to scare the Western public?
Officials believe it's part of a wider plot where Russia schemed to send the incendiary devices through a commercial carrier on planes that would potentially end up in the United States. According to the Journal, one of the suspects, seen here at a DHL in Vilnius, Lithuania, arrested for allegedly sending 4 devices to the UK.
The problem is that these packages were very, very small, but even a small amount of burning magnesium can bring down a whole airplane.
Authorities in Poland arrested and charged 4 people in connection with the explosions. The TSA increasing security in recent months for certain cargo shipments.
If an airplane were brought down over the North Atlantic under suspicious circumstances, that all commercial aviation would be grounded immediately around the world for a long period of time.
Well, let me read this report to you in case you didn't hear this. Again, highly suspicious here. Quote, Western security officials reportedly said, quote, they believe Russia is plotting to plant explosives aboard either commercial or passenger airlines bound for the U.S. and Canada. Wow. Now, guys, I don't know about you, but I'm about to get on a plane on Monday, going to Virginia. So again, this definitely will keep me in prayer here. And everybody else is traveling. They said like 80 million people is going to be traveling this year for Thanksgiving. The report indicates the 2 incendiary devices were shipped using the German logistics company DHL and ignited a DHL logistics hubs in Germany and in Birmingham, England, and in July, sparking a multinational investigation. Now, this is according to the Wall Street Journal. Security officials and sources familiar with the investigation told the journal that intelligence agencies in Europe determined the explosions were caused by electric massagers implanted with the magnesium-based flammable substance. Those officials say the electric massagers sent to the UK with Lithuania were intended as a, quote, test run, look at this, of a wider Russian sabotage plot meant to evaluate how best to get explosives on board aircraft headed to North America. Now, guys, this is a heavy accusation here. Poland's National Prosecutor's Office announced that 4 suspects have been arrested in connection to the fires at the DHL hubs and are all charged with sabotage or terrorist operations on behalf of foreign intelligence agencies. The group's goal was also to, quote, test a transfer channel for such parcels, which were ultimately to be sent to the U.S. of America and Canada. Again, according to the prosecutor's office, without revealing the names or nationalities of the suspects. Of course, the leader of Poland's Foreign Intelligence Agency told the journal that Russian spies, here we go, were responsible, and the accusation of any such attack would be seen as, quote, a major escalation of Russia's sabotage campaign against the Western powers. Quote, I'm not sure the political leaders of Russia are aware of the consequences if one of these packages exploded, causing a mass casualty event. Well, guys, listen, if that were to be true, if that was to carry out and that came to fruition, that would be an act of war. I can come out and tell you that that would be the case. I don't know why they're not saying that, but that would be an act of war. I mean, we had quote unquote hijackers from parts of the Middle East that took planes and thrusted them into the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and that was an act of war, and we ended up going to war in the Middle East over that. So again, you don't think that if, quote, Russia were to be responsible for trying to carry out a terroristic attack by planting explosives on U.S. airlines or in Canada, and they were to detonate this and destroy an aircraft with hundreds of people on board, that wouldn't be an act of war? Absolutely would be an act of war. So, guys, again, we would love to hear your thoughts on this. Is this a false flag? What in the world is going on? Are we in danger? We are literally, tomorrow will be November 20th. We are 2 months away, 60 days away, something like that, until January 20th, when President Trump will be inaugurated and sworn into office. Are we going to be in a global war with, and again, if we go to war with Russia, it's not going to be just Russia. We will be at war with Russia. We will be at war with North Korea. We will likely be drawn in with other nations like China and Iran. And then you've got Britain, you've got France, you've got the United Kingdom, you've got America, so again, you've got the lines are being drawn, the tensions are mounting, things are escalating. We're seeing an existential threat that is beyond words and verbiage here. Now, again, I want to go to Matthew 24. We talked about this because this is where we're at, guys. In Matthew 24, the disciples comes to Jesus and they asked him, what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age. And by the way, we've got a whole equipping message on right here, the end of the age. We hear about this all the time because, again, notice he mentions two things here, the sign of your coming and of the end of the age. And we're going to do a whole equipping message on the end of the age. This is going to be one you don't want to miss. We're not going to do that. I think we may do this week. Sometimes it'll be the 8 o'clock hour. But nevertheless, Jesus answered and said to them, take heed that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, I'm Christ, and will deceive many. And here it is, you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. It is inevitable. See that you're not troubled. Guys, this is what I want to emphasize here. See that you are not troubled. We cannot, listen, I refuse to lose sleep over this. I had someone message me today on Facebook, and they said they were literally physically shaking from dreams. They had back-to-back simultaneous dreams of what they thought was a war with Russia. Now, likely because everything that's going on, your subconscious, and again, I am one, guys, if you know me well enough, I'm not one to tell you that every dream is from the Lord. Solomon said in the book of Ecclesiastes that dreams come from much activity. And if you really study that in the Hebrew, literally, guys, what you dwell on in your mind, what you think about, what you talk about, what you meditate on, what you see with your eyes, and it's constantly before you, it's going to bleed into your subconscious and you're going to dream about that. So, and again, I'm not downplaying people that have been having dreams of war. Now, when you are not thinking about that, and it's not on your mind, it's not on the forefront, it's not on mainstream media, it's not being bombarded into your subconscious, and then you have a full color 3-dimensional dream about that, then that's when you need to write that down. You need to put that on the shelf. But I'm going to say that a lot of people's probably going to be very on edge right now, and you're probably going to have dreams about this. It's going to keep you up at night. You're going to have anxiety is an all-time high, tensions are all-time high, worry and fear. But I want to remind you of the words of Christ. He says, you're going to hear of the very thing that we're talking about today. You're going to hear of wars. So you're going to hear about them actually happening. And then you're going to hear about rumors of wars. Not only are you going to see and hear wars taking place across the world, but then you're going to hear rumors of wars, greater conflicts, much more severity in nature, global threats. You're going to hear these rumors of wars. But then look what he says here. Let me go back here. He says, you're going to hear this. You're going to see this. See that you are not troubled. And here's what he reminds us. All of these things must come to pass. I want you to type that in the chat. I want you to, if you're listening by Apple, Spotify, first of all, we welcome you. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate, guys, if you enjoy our content, help us out, give us a good review. I want you to say this to yourself. All of these things must come to pass. All of this is prophecy. All of this has been foretold. But here's another thing I want you to say. The end is not yet. The end is not yet. Now, why did I have you say this? Let me give you a little snippet of what I'm going to talk about this week at our 8 o'clock hour, the end of the age. Guys, Matthew 24:14. Let's go down here. Let's scroll down here. What does it say here? This gospel of the kingdom will be preached into all the world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come. Guys, it didn't say that every individual on the planet would hear the gospel and the end would come. No, that's not what it said. It said that the nations, the gospel would go to all the nations and the end would come. I've heard people preach that wrong and say, well, every person on the planet has to hear the gospel before the end will come. No, that's not what he said. He said, this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached to all the nations of the world, and the end will come. And the end there is not the end of the world. It's the end of the age. We are currently in the age of the dispensation of grace. But when the end of the dispensation of grace, and again, I don't want to get into this, but there are certain events that must transpire that will close out the end of one dispensation, and it will thrust us into the next dispensation. And let me just say this, and then we're going to probably close this podcast. Right now, we're in the dispensation of the mercy and grace of God. This is why we're not seeing entire cities wiped out like Sodom and Gomorrah, and you better be thankful for that, because we're in the dispensation of grace, given the opportunity for the church to go and preach the gospel to every nation. But once certain key events transpire, when those take place, there will be a convergence of these events, and it will thrust us into the next dispensation, which, can I tell you what it is? It's going to be the judgment and the wrath of God, thus the 7-year tribulation. So friends, we are in troubling, perilous, but prophetic times, and you and I are alive for such a time as this. I'll leave you with Luke 21:28. Jesus said, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near. Again, guys, endtimeheadlines.org, endtimeheadlines.com. There is going to be our free app. I'd love for you guys to download it today. Hit yes to push notifications. This is going to keep you up to par with everything that we put out. And of course, listen, if you enjoy our content, if you find value in our content, you're blessed, you're informed, you're equipped week after week after week. We want to encourage you to pray about becoming a monthly partner. There's 2 ways in which you can do that. You can do it electronically through the app, through the website, there's certain links here on YouTube and whatnot. You can click and give that way, or you can give by check or money order and make it out to End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. And guys, I do want to apologize that we had to cancel our prayer meeting last night. I had a really bad ocular migraine. I deal with flare-ups of what's called ocular rosacea. Y'all pray for me, guys. That's why I've been forced to change my diet drastically, because it keeps a lot of this stuff in remission and out of bay. But through the changing of weather and certain things, it will trigger. And what that is if you're familiar with rosacea, you get it on your face. Well, you can get that stuff in your eyes. And when you get that on your eyelids, it causes inflammation of the eyelids, which causes your eye to get very dry. You get dry eyes, you get pain, so when this stuff flares up, it's rough. And you have to go through anyway, I don't want to bore you with all that. But again, I apologize. And do want to make a couple announcements before we let you go today. Again, we'll be back here tonight, Lord willing. I will say that. I pray, Lord willing, we'll be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we've got a message. I want to preach a message to you. This is not an update or prophecy update. This is just an equipping message. So be looking for that tonight. But listen, we're going to be on here, Lord willing, again tomorrow at 2 p.m. But we will not be preaching or doing anything on Wednesday night. We'll be completely off on Wednesday nights. We'll be back Thursday at 2, Thursday at 8, Friday at 2, and Friday at 8. And then we're going to try to come back here on Saturday, okay? And then, listen to me, that will be the last time that we will be back on here. We will not be back on Monday night, nor Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday for any podcast at all. Why? Because I will be traveling out of town. I'll be flying out on Monday to Virginia for Thanksgiving with my family. So again, so make sure you mark your calendars so everybody won't be freaking out. Where's Brother Ricky at? What happened? Is he okay? Yes, we're okay. We will be on here all the rest of this week except Wednesday night. Tomorrow night we won't be on here, but again, twice on Thursday, twice on Friday, at least once on Saturday, and then we'll be off from there on all the way till that following weekend. We will be taking off. So we always appreciate being with you on these updates and these equipping messages. And it's always a great honor. So we love you guys. We will see you guys tonight, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. If anything happens or comes up, again, that's why I always say, Lord willing, because you really can't determine what may take place, but we plan on it. If things change, we'll update you and we'll announce it on our YouTube community channel, our Facebook page, our Telegram channel, all these communications where we can get that across to you. So until we see you next time, may the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.